Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Gdansk, Cowboy versus Darren Till. And man, Darren Till just got a main event spot against Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, this is the biggest fight of his career, coming off that impressive win against Boyan, and he gets the opportunity to take out one of the best to ever do it in Cerrone, and we're going to see if Till's really the real deal or if Cerrone's on his way out.
You know, it's funny because we've seen this kind of scenario over the last few years. I mean, since the beginning of the UFC, really, but especially over the last few years. You know, you see guys like Duho Choi take on Cub Swanson. You see Mirsad Bektik take on Darren Elkins. I know there's another one I'm forgetting about right now.
Jason Knight versus Lamas.
Jason Knight versus Lamas. These scenarios happen over and over again, and it seems like oftentimes the vet prevails, but then you get a situation like Emmanuel Sanchez versus Daniel Strauss, and the prospect came through. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Till or Cerrone wins. But we got to start at the beginning of the card because we got Josh Emmett. He's minus 340, Shaq. The comeback on Felipe Certenejo Aranches is plus 280. Now, this fight's at 145 pounds. Felipe is going up. Josh is going down. What do you think is going to happen at this matchup?
I see minus 340 Josh Emmett, which is a little steep, but, sometimes people make underdog plays just because the line's off, and I think they should pass here because I think Emmett's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win it handedly. Felipe Arantes, he's not even the biggest bantamweight on the roster when he was at bantamweight, and he's fighting Emmett, who's just so much stronger physically. He hits hard. He's got more power. He's tougher, in my opinion, and he's got more will. When I say tougher, I mean Emmett will dig deeper to get a win. I've seen Felipe fold against Fili. I've seen him fold against Goito when he had his back fully mounted.
Did you see him fold or did you see him give up position?
Just the overall IQ of his game, it's just not very good. His takedown defense isn't good, and he's fighting a guy that's got at least 15 to 20 pounds on him fight night. And, it is a serious cut for Emmett. We'll see if he can make the cut, but, I think that Felipe is going to feel the shots on the feet. Felipe might be the better striker, but when Emmett lands, he's going to feel it. And we already know what happens the more you work and work Felipe. He will do something stupid. The guy is notorious for beating himself. He'll take care of the jobbers like Jared Sanders and Yves Jabouins, the guys that are not in the UFC anymore. But I think Emmett will keep his spot in the UFC. Not that that matters, but I think Emmett's just on a different level. And I think Emmett's going to win the exchanges on the feet. Felipe will land some flying knees, a head kick here and there. But the more he just leans on Felipe, the more he makes him work. I see Felipe feeling it, accepting bottom position, and accepting a loss. And I think Emmett gets a decision win.
When we talk about keeping your spot in the roster, Felipe has been in the UFC since UFC 147, so, I mean, it's not like this guy's getting cut anytime soon. But with Emmett, I am surprised that he's dropping to 145 pounds, man. I thought that he was one of the stockier guys at 155. I always used to say that. He's the kind of guy, you hit him on the forehead and you break your hand. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys. And he's a little musclehead, so I'm kind of surprised he's dropping to 45 with Felipe Aranches. I do think the cuts to 35 were getting a little bit too brutal for him. As you saw, he had to pull out of his last one against Luke Sanders. And honestly, I thought that was such a better matchup for Felipe Aranches than this one is because I thought that Luke will tap out easily, and we know that Felipe Aranches will scramble for submissions all over the place. It's going to be hard to tap out an alpha male guy because, with Josh Emmett, he's training with these guys who are on his neck all day, every day. It's just the cut that really gives me pause here. And Shaq, since you went with the minus 340 favorite, you know what? I'm going to take the plus 280 dog. I think that there's going to be moments where he's going to be laying on his back. We're going to be like, yep, Felipe never learned his lesson. And somewhere along the way, maybe he catches a heel hook. Maybe he sweeps and gets on top. He gets full mount, lands a couple of big shots. I think they're going to have a scrambly fest. I think it's going to be a close split decision. So for that reason, I'm going to take the plus 280 dog, and I'm going to pass from a bet. Now next up, Warlley Alves. He's taking on the newcomer, Salim Touahri. And currently there's no line on it, but as you know, Shaq, Warlley Alves is going to be a big favorite here. And look, the newcomer, he's 10-1. He hasn't fought since last year, but he's got a good record. He comes to finish fights, but he's got a big step up in competition with Warlley Alves. I mean, with Warlley, we're dealing with a guy that has wins over Alan Jouban, Nordine Taleb, and Colby Covington. These are the kind of caliber fighters that Warlley Alves is beating. And I know he's coming off 2 straight losses where he got humiliated, but I mean, this guy that he's fighting now, it has nothing to do with Kamaru Usman. You know, I see this being that first round guillotine that has eluded Warley Alves' last few fights. I see him getting back on track here. It could be the classic letdown spot. You know how it goes with those last minute switch ups, but I don't think it's going to be that situation because I don't think Warley was necessarily excited to fight his initial opponent, Jim Wallhead. I think he was just excited to get back in there and get another win, which he desperately needs. So that's going to be the case here. First round guillotine. But look, if it goes past the first round, you know, Warley Alves is what my boy Mike Biggie Rhodes likes to refer to as a gassing assassin. So don't be surprised if he starts to wilt a little bit. But look, this ain't Kamaru Usman. This ain't, who's the other guy that broke him?
Barberena.
This ain't Barberena. So I see Warley Alves taking care of biz, keeping his spot on the roster and getting a win here.
Yeah, Warley Alves, in the past, he's a guy I had my eye on the fade. I faded him against Colby Covington and lost, take the loss on the chin, but then, I came back his next fight, and, I hit that plus 400 Barberena on Warley just because, like we said, if you make Warley work and make him really work, he'll quit. But you have to have the skills to be able to do that. I don't know if this newcomer has the skills to do that. I wouldn't be shocked, but Warley's the pick here. I'm gonna say by first round TKO, but just keep your eye out for Warley. He's one of those guys that you like to fade when he's fighting guys that'll make him work.
Now, here we got a brawl, man, because look, we got Andre Fili is minus 160. The comeback on Artem Lobov is plus 140. What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Artem. I bet him against Chris Avila, minus 115. And, I like to bet him in those spots like against Taruto, Chris Avila, these lower level guys that he can kind of punk out or, just get in their heads, and guys where his skill level he's on par with. And, when he's fighting Cub, you definitely see the clear gap in skills after the first round. And, Fili, look, he's a 500 fighter. He's got wins over Hakran. He's got wins over, Mowgli Benitez. And to be honest, I have to take the fanboy out of me for this one. I think Fili's going to get the job done. I love Artem, but Fili's just a better fighter on the feet. Like, Artem's going to fight tough. I think he's going to hang in there, but I do think Fili will butcher him up a little bit, touch him up from the outside. Fili's coming off that devastating loss to Calvin Kattar in his last fight, which was kind of a letdown spot, but if we're being honest, Kattar is just the better fighter, you know what I'm saying? And that's not the case here. Artem's got to knock Fili out, which no one's never done, you know what I'm saying? So I think Fili's actually gonna put on a clear decision win here, and I think a good bet for y'all prop bettors is not Fili inside the distance, because we know Artem's tough, and we know he's gonna hang in here for the 3 rounds.
It's a good ass fight, man. History shows that Andre Fili is going to win this fight. He wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. But as you know, you can't bet fights based on, what the records say. It's just interesting that he's jumping back on the horse so fast after the ass whooping that Calvin Kattar gave him. I mean, Calvin Kattar taught him a lesson. A lot of people don't know about Calvin Kattar. I'm not even sure that Calvin Kattar's ranked top 15 yet. Unrightfully so. I mean, this is a guy that's going to make waves. He's got top 5 potential. He's 18-2. So, no shame in taking an ass whooping to a guy like that. The issue is that he didn't take enough time off. He's one of these tough guys that feels like, okay, I want to get right back up on the horse, get back in there, get another win, get the bitter taste out of my mouth. But he's taking on Artem Lobov, who we know he's a 500 fighter. But look, this whole camp, he's been working on his hands. As you know, he's been in there with Conor McGregor working on boxing. So we know his hands have gotten better since the last time we saw him fight. Now, obviously, there's other elements to the game. Fili could decide to take him down. Fili's got good takedowns, man. Fili takes him down, and Artem's most likely not getting up. But if they decide to stand and bang, and, I know Andre Fili is the kind of guy that does love to trade. You remember his UFC debut against Jeremy Larson. They went 3 straight rounds trading until he broke Larson. It was unbelievable. If they stand and trade, I do think there's a chance for a counter knockout from Artem Lobov. Most likely Fili by decision, but since everyone's on Fili, you know what? Let's go with the dog here. Let's go with Artem Lobov for the upset. I think his short little arms are going to get a nice little counter left hook here, and I think he's going to put down touchy Fili. Now it's time to make some money, man. You ready? It's time to put our balls and our cash checks on the line, because we got Ramazan Emeev. He's minus 135. The comeback on Sam Alvey is plus 115. Now, you know what sharps do, Shaq? Sharps take a plus 100 and they turn it into a minus 135. And that's exactly what we did. Tell him who you got here.
Yeah, Alvy's a tough guy. Alvy wins fights. I mean, he's got a winning UFC record. And, Ramazan Emeev coming in, making his debut, M1 champion, a two-time M1 champion. And, generally when newcomers come in, you like to just be safe. It's his UFC debut. He's not very tested, but that's not the case with Ramazan Emeev. Emeev is very tested on the Russian scene. All the guys he fought on the Russian scene have winning records, and I'm not talking 6-4 or something like that. I'm talking like 31-5. You know what I'm saying? Like against all good guys. He's fought Mario Miranda twice and won. He fought
Michael
Falcao. He fought Luigi Fioravanti. He fought Tokov, who's fighting Salter for the #1 contender in Bellator upcoming. So, and that guy's like 20-2. So that shows you can honestly say that Emeev's his last few wins are better than Alvy's. I mean, Alvy's he beat Nate Marquardt, who's a little old, but the name, but Rashad,
who's a little old.
And those are close decisions. Look, this is all I like Alvy, but the game plan to beat Alvy is very simple, especially on short notice. He took this fight on 10 days' notice, and he's sucking a lot of weight. The game plan to beat Alvy is very simple. All you have to do is stay away from him on the feet. And Emeev is a tie-up master. He's so good on the clinch. He's very educated in the clinch. Emeev doesn't take any unnecessary risk and slug it out unless he's fighting like a Falcao or something like that. But like Emeev knows where his strengths lie. He's going to tie him up against that fence, kill clock, and he's a master at octagon control. And one thing about Sam Alvey, he concedes octagon control. He's not going to be the aggressor. He's not going to move forward. He'll throw a little uppercut, straight left hand to try to, land his punch. And we're going to see it coming from a mile away. I actually do think Emeev can take him down. Rashad Evans took him down. Nate Marquardt took him down. And,
Dylan Andrews took him down.
So I think Emeev, a combat sambo world champion, will take him down. I don't think he's going to do it consistently, but I think he will to seal off one of the rounds. I think it'll be a lackluster fight, and Emeev will get the job done. All he has to do is stay away from one thing. That's the only thing Alvey has that he can beat us. He can't beat us in the clinch. He's not going to beat us in the jiu-jitsu department. Emeev's got this fight won as long as he stays away. And I love the fact that Emeev's not a wild, like a slugger type of guy. The guy is known for beating guys in the tie-up, known for leaning on guys. And Alvey on 10 days' notice, cutting a lot of weight in Poland. I like Emeev a lot. 2 units to win 2.
Yeah, I got 2 units to win 2 as well. He jumped on that plus 100, and this is just one of those situations where, look, I'm a fan of Alvey as well as a person. He's a really nice guy, but in terms of his fighting, if you bet on Alvey, I mean,
you're waiting on the left.
How frustrating is it when he can't even cash the under 1.5 against Kevin Casey? You know what I'm saying? And just because you're waiting for him to land that counter right hand, there's no guarantee it's ever going to happen, man. It hasn't happened since what? Since he fought Mutanchi? You know what I'm saying, man? So this is just one of those cases where Ramazan Emeev, he's too smart, and it might be boring. He might clinch him up against the fence. He might, tie up, he might separate and then just land a couple shots, then circle off, do nothing, and then wait for the opportune time to steal the round with a takedown. But that's what we need when we're betting on these fights, and he's got the kind of experience necessary to take on a guy like Sam Alvey, who has wins over Rashad Evans, Dan Kelly, Cesar Mutanch. He's been in there with everybody, Nate Marquardt. But I think Ramazan Emeev is on that level. I think the line flipped for a reason. And I see Emeev going out there and getting this dominant decision. But I didn't play a prop, as you know, Shaq. I just play it straight at plus 100, 2 units. I still think there's value at minus 135, but obviously I like the line we got better. So, I think Russia's about to take care of business here. Now, next up, the return of Brian Kelleher after Chito Vera broke his arm. Brian Kelleher's minus 120. The comeback on Damian Stasiak is plus 100. And I got to tell you what, man. When I max bet Pedro Munoz in a parlay, he's like minus 5. So, I didn't play him straight. He was in the parlay. When I bet Pedro Munoz to play Damian Stasiak, I thought it was an easy contest. I thought this was going to be, I thought I could go outside for 10 minutes, make a phone call, come in, and, see money in my account. And Stasiak put up a fight, man. Stasiak's no slouch. Stasiak even won a round on one of the judges' scorecards, man. And I'll tell you, on two of the judges' scorecards, and I'll tell you what, man. The kid's got a nice spinning back kick. He's got a decent jiu-jitsu game. He's improving every time he fights. And now that he's fighting in Poland, I feel like this could be his homecoming. And with Brian Kelleher, he's one of these guys that he's very lucky to be in the position he's in. On the regional scene, he went the distance with Jimmy Rivera, lost, but he went the distance. He has a couple respectable wins on the regional scene. He beat Julio Arce, he beat Andre Sukumtat, but when he got to the UFC, he goes in there with Yuri in Brazil, and Yuri's totally lighting him up on the feet. And then Yuri is like, wow, this is so easy that I can start doing things that I don't normally do, because normally I got to be super cautious and careful because of the high level opponents that I'm fighting, that he just goes ahead and shoots a takedown without even setting it up and leaves his head outside. And Brian Kelleher snatched that shit right away. I mean, Aljamain Sterling even said that Brian Kelleher's only dangerous move is that guillotine. Yuri just wrong place, wrong time. It was just a mistake. And Yuri, 9 times out of 10, Yuri whoops his ass, but they don't fight 10 times. Brian won that one. Much respect. But that's about the extent of it. Look, Charlie Brenneman beat Rick Story. You know what I'm saying? Mitch Clark beat Ali Quinta. Shit happens. I think Stasiak's about to take care of business here and expose the fact that Kelleher really is a jobber and a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, Stasiak, the improvements he made from the Davy Grant fight to the Pedro Munoz fight were alarming, man, in a good way. They were just like the fact that he could, against a guy like Pedro who comes at you like a savage. Like, Pedro gives no fucks. He just charges at you and he wants to bang and he wants to create chaos. And Stasiak did fairly well with that chaos, better than a lot of other guys. Stasiak in the Davy Grant fight, his takedowns look really good in that fight. His single leg, his jiu-jitsu, he swept him a couple times, and we saw him finish him off with an armbar as well. And then, Pedro is a black belt. You can't really mess with Pedro on the mat, but here, this is a good spot for him because Kelleher's approach is just to charge right in, throw big right hands, try to get the guillotine. And I just think, like, he's a workman fighter. Not saying that Stasiak is that much above him, but I think Stasiak, he's training at Jackson's now. He did half of his camp at Jackson's now with, the other Poles, Marcin Tybura and whatnot, and now he's getting better. I mean, his striking, bro, when you go toe-to-toe with Pedro, a top 15 guy, like that, the way he did, and like he was throwing body kicks, he had hands, he had movement, it just looked like a completely different guy. I'm going to take Stasiak here, and I'm going to say by finish, actually. I think he's going to finish him off with an armbar, a Kimura, a guillotine, something like that. And I think Stasiak will move on to bigger and better things.
What's keeping us away from this plus 100?
We got other plays on the line.
There is a chance I end up playing this Stasiak line, but stay tuned to bestfightpicks.com or at bestfightpicks on Twitter, and I'll let you know if I do. Now, next up on the card, you ready? So, Adam Weisharek, he's minus 125, and he's taking on the returning Anthony Hamilton, who's plus 105. Now, 2 weeks ago, Anthony Hamilton got knocked out in 10 seconds, and then 3 weeks ago, you know what I'm saying? Last week, Anthony Hamilton got knocked out by Daniel Spitz and quit the sport. And now he decided that, there was a little opening. I could use an extra $20K before my retirement. I'm going to, get paid $20K to go to Europe, go to Poland for the first time in my life, have a good time, and, good time outside of the octagon. Oh, he's been to Poland before? But has he ever been to Gdansk, Poland? That's the real question. You know what I'm saying? He's going to go to Gdansk for the first time in his life. Hopefully he can fly his family out, have a nice vacation. They don't have Disneyland over there, but whatever the equivalent is, you know what I'm saying? Just go in there and enjoy yourself, because the 15 minutes or less he spends in the octagon with Adam are not going to be very enjoyable. And look, Adam isn't the best, but he's fighting Anthony Hamilton. He's got that going for him. And, I mean, look, he's going to stay tight. He's going to stay composed. Hopefully he can slip off the center line, land that right hand, which has been a big weapon against Anthony Hamilton in his last 2 fights. I mean, we got 205ers like Marcelo Fortuna, making Anthony Hamilton, run halfway across the octagon, face first into the fence, and the ref has to intervene. And then also, Daniel Spitz, who loses decisions to Mark Godbeers, knocking out Anthony Hamilton in 10 seconds. So it's one of those things where it's a system fade. If Anthony Hamilton is fighting, you fade Anthony Hamilton, especially when his opponent is dog money. And look, I took the what line did I get that fucker at? I think I got him plus 110. Currently, it's minus 125. Look, that's what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? That's what sharps do. Plus 110. It's currently minus 125. There's still value because if you're looking to fade, one of the worst fighters in UFC history, in Anthony Hamilton, hey, it's only minus 125. So I'd go for it. I'm going for it because, look, let's say this loses. That's okay because long term, you fade Anthony Hamilton and you will be profitable. So I put 1 unit on Adam at plus 110. Let's get it.
Yeah, like we said, we have these system fades where, certain guys you fade no matter what just because they don't win fights or they quit or just these type of factors. And, Hamilton, he charges in with his face first. He does it time after time. He did it against Todd Duffy, and he looked like garbage, man. The guy just walks forward with his face and swings, and he's not very accurate. In the tie-ups, I mean, he might be a little stronger, but I think when you get the point where he's at in his career, when your chin diminishes,
when you retire,
your whole game diminishes. He's not the guy that could muscle someone up in the clinch anymore, or take Omalanchuk down for 3 rounds and actually pull off a win. His whole game has diminished, and like we said, dog money to fade Hamilton. I messed up on UFC Pittsburgh by not betting Spitz because I thought Spitz sucked, and I just didn't want any part of it. But then, when Spitz goes out there and knocks him in the first exchange with a slip right, then you feel like an idiot, and you're just like, wow, that was free money on the table. But I think even if we lose, man, you got it, like you said, fade Hamilton, dog money, plus 110. I only bet 1 unit. This ain't like no 3-unit play or like my most confident play of the night or anything like that. But you fade Anthony Hamilton when you have dog money. And the guy just retired the other day. He said this was the last ride for the freight train. He's already thinking about retirement. And he said, and then when he came back, he said the freight train isn't done, but he said it ain't done yet. So, after this, then it'll be officially done. But, I went with Adam here, and I'm hoping for a slip right knockout. But if Adam can get him on the mat and beat him as well, I'll take that as well.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Now, speaking of system fades, Marcin Held, he's minus 440. The comeback on Narsat Hakparast is plus 350. Now, speaking of system fades, man, I mean, look, Marcin Held, I don't understand the hype, man. I mean, people have been acting like this dude, is something special. Like, even back in the Bellator days when he was getting broken by Dave Jansen and Will Brooks. And he comes over to the UFC and, look, they give him litmus tests. They give him Diego Sanchez, Joe Lozon. You can beat those guys, right? Wrong. You can't even beat those motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And then they put him in there with Damir Hadzovic. We cash a nice plus 265. And people are acting like that was a fluke win just because Marcin won the first 2 rounds. But let's talk about those first 2 rounds. Held would get lit up on the feet, and then Damir would throw a high kick. He'd fall down with the high kick, and then Held would lay on him for the rest of the round. Hey, win the round however you got to, but that's the reality of what happened. Then the 3rd round comes around, and Held isn't comfortable with his 2-0 lead. He decides, you know what? I'm going to try an Imanari roll in the middle of a UFC fight. Look, this ain't Abu Dhabi. This ain't fucking Naga. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? This ain't Eddie Bravo Invitational. This is the UFC's Octagon. I'm going to try an Imanari roll against a pro fighter. And you saw what happened there. He got kneed into oblivion. I thought he was going to retire. I thought he'd never fight again. But coincidentally enough, the UFC returned to Poland. So, they got to bring the little Polish weasel Marcin Held in. And he was supposed to fight Timu Pakelin, who, was a total jobber. But I would have probably still bet Timu there. You know what I'm saying, bro? Look, let's be honest about it. Timu got knocked out by Mark DeCasey. Is Marcin Held anything like Mark DeCasey? No, he's not.
Timu Pakelin lost to Lebu.
I mean, Lebu would beat Held too. Look, when guys like Diego Sanchez and Joe Lozon, and you can call it a robbery, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Marcin Held does not win fights, and that's the bottom line. So when you give me a plus 350 to fade him, look, I get that Narsat, he's making his UFC debut, he's green, this and that, but look, he's still, he's a 7-1 fighter? I mean, the guy goes out there, he wins fights, he takes people down, he's dominant. I think we're gonna have the Bellator game plan of beating Held. Back when dudes would take him down, they'd avoid the leg locks, and then Marcin would quit and pound him out, or just win the decision. And I think that's what's gonna happen here. At least at plus 350, I gotta find out because one of these fuckers gonna learn, man. Marcin Held is not a minus 440 kind of guy, and that's the bottom line. He's 0-3 in the UFC. He's lost 4 of his last 5 in general, and the guy just is not very good, and that's the bottom line. So I got the newcomer Narsat 1 unit plus 350.
I wouldn't go that far to say Marcin isn't good because he does have some wins on his resume, like Derek Anderson.
Well, he used to be good.
You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, there's a clear blueprint on how to beat him, and people have done it several times. Back when Michael Chandler did it initially, what did he do? He outlasted him, got on top, and held, quit. And then, when Dave Jansen did it, he was a kid for that fight, but Dave Jansen got out the heel hook in round 1, and then he leaned on him, and Marcin quit. And then, when he did it against Will Brooks, what happened? He kind of tore Will Brooks' knee off, and then he quit. And there's holes in Marcin's striking, there's holes in his wrestling, there's holes in his cardio, and there's holes in his heart, man. Like the guy, if when Marcin has his way, he's amazing. But when he doesn't have his way, he'll find a way out.
Hold on. When he has his way, I won't go as far as saying he's amazing. When he has his
he'll
way,
he'll
he's a blanket.
Exactly. I mean, he did, dominate Hatzevich for 2 rounds, but
dominate, come on. It was 10-9.
Yeah, but I mean, the fight wasn't. He won the first 2 rounds, you know what I'm saying, by taking him down and staying on top, which might happen here. And if it happens, hey, I take it on the chin. It doesn't mean that it's a bad play. You just fade Marcin Held. And, Nasrat, he's a TriStar guy or allegedly a King's MMA guy, but I see him training it with OAM and Joe Duffy. So just being in that atmosphere, man, hopefully he knows how to. I'm sure they got him on the heel hook defense, the leg lock defense and whatnot. And, and he's actually a pretty good wrestler. In his last fight, he fought this French guy, and the guy was teeing off on him, and then he stayed so calm and like.
I thought he was Russian.
No, he was French, I think. He outlasted him. He waited for his opportunity to get on top, and he straight pounded the guy out. And hopefully he can do that here, man. I know it's going to be a tough task. He can't panic when Marcin goes for the heel hook. I mean, but when's the last time Marcin actually got a heel hook?
Exactly, man. Look, the deal with these leg lock guys is that they're front runners. And I'm not saying that, look, a well-rounded martial artist with leg locks in their arsenal, that's not what I'm referring to at all. I'm talking about the guys that only go for leg locks. The guys that live and die by the leg lock. Those guys are front runners. They're bullies because if they get that leg lock, firstly, it's one of the most devastating submissions in the history of the sport. You get one of those, wow, you tear someone's ACL, you tear their knee, you do all these things. But if you can't get it, for some reason, these guys tend to quit. You've seen it time and time again. Rusimar Toquinho, Marcin Held. I know guys on the regional scene that are the same way, man. So yeah, there's a bully mentality with these leg lock guys, and I think Narsat's the kind of guy that can expose that. Now we got to talk about the main card. We got Oscar Piachota. He's minus 185. The comeback on Johnny Bravo, Jonathan Wilson is plus 160. Now it's interesting. Initially, I was actually considering taking the underdog shot on Jonathan Wilson. I was like, look, man, he's dropping 20 pounds. He's not fighting Ion Cuteleva anymore. You know what I'm saying? He trains with Lorenz Larkin, this and that. But then I checked out this dude, Piachota, and Piachota has made huge improvements. He used to just be one of those, I don't want to say pull guard and sweep kind of guys, but, he's one of those Euro grapplers. He'd stay on top of you for 3 rounds, do the whole bit. But now he's going out there knocking dudes out in under a minute with head kicks, with left hooks. The guy's feeling more confident than ever. He circles on the outside. He waits for you to come to him, and then he counters when he finds his opportunity. And with Wilson, I think Wilson will give him that opportunity because Wilson is so inactive in there. It's almost like, if you're not Chris Dempsey, the dude ain't feeling himself. He ain't that confident at all. The only question I have is dropping 20 pounds. You got to put in a lot of work to drop those 20 pounds. That means he's taking this seriously. That means he's probably in the best shape of his life. Unless I'm completely wrong and he's expecting to just cut those pounds, I don't think he's cutting them. I think he's losing them. There's a big difference between cutting weight and losing weight. I think he's losing the weight, so therefore he's going to be in way better shape. That being said, you can't teach that fighter's heart, that fighter's will, that fighter's mentality. Not that he doesn't have it. I'm sure he does. He went undefeated on the regional scene. He has a win in the UFC. But when we're talking about this guy Piachota, I can tell you right here, right now, Shaq, he wants to be here. He wants this finish. And I think that's exactly what he's gonna get. So I got my boy Oscar here.
Yeah, when I look at Wilson, I question if he really wants to be there. In the Frankenstein to Silva fight, he wobbled Frankenstein to Silva several times, but the second he realized that Frankenstein was going to be here, he completely gassed out. And then in the second round, he got on top, and then he ended up going to his back and getting pounded out really bad. And I just question if when adversity comes, will he be able to thrive and get through it? And Piachota, he's got a nice left hook. I see he's got a nice left high kick as well. And, he's got some jiu-jitsu. And, with Wilson, if we can get him down, I feel like his whole MO will just diminish. And I feel like he'll start to question himself like he has in the past. Guys just walk him down, and he's just always on the defensive when he can't, land the left kick in the left hand. Early I see Wilson probably, landing some left body kicks, some left hands, but the longer Piachota stays in there, the longer he makes him feel his presence, I feel like Wilson will eventually break and Oscar will get the win.
Now, I hear you got money on the line for this one, man, because we got Devin Clark. He's minus 155, and the comeback on Jan Blachowicz is plus 135. Now, when we talk about system fades, we talk about Jan Blachowicz. So, what's the deal here, man?
Look, this fight is fairly simple to me. Yes, Devin Clark is green. He's very inexperienced. Yeah, he did get knocked out by Alex Nicholson. But, that was at 185 in his UFC debut in his hometown with all that pressure. Okay, he loses that fight. Then he comes in there versus Stansberry. Still looking a little green, but clearly won the fight, showed the tools needed to beat Jan. And then he comes in here against Jake Collier and completely dominates him 30-27 in a fight that wasn't close at all. He beat Collier on the feet, he beat him in the clinch, and he beat him in the wrestling. And, my thing with Jan is, yeah, Jan's a good striker for 3 minutes. For 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he rocked Pat Cummins. Who hasn't rocked Pat Cummins? Okay. You know what I'm saying? So, and my thing with Jan is the more you make him work, the more I want Devin to come out here and make him sprawl, even if he doesn't get it right away. Just the fact that you're making Jan sprawl and making him get back up, because Jan likes to do a lot of stupid shit, like engage in the wrestling, try to take, he tries to take guys down when he has them hurt, and he tries to clinch, and just so he can rest, but he doesn't know that it's actually not a good idea for him, and I think he's going to do the same. Nothing's changed. Way back UFC 191 against Corey Anderson, who was 6-1 at the time in green, coming off a knockout loss. Jan won the exchanges for about 3 minutes, and then Corey took over that fight, and Jan put his hands on his knees in the third round and quit. And then, he comes in here versus against who did he fight after that? Then he fights Igor Prokrajic on short notice in Croatia, and I mean, bro, like, Igor Prokrajic is that guy that you bring in to get an easy win. And I know Igor was in his hometown or whatnot, but Jan got wobbled in that fight. Jan actually had to become the wrestler and take Igor down. It's actually funny. But he got through that just because Igor Prokrajic, the Duke, even though I like him, he's not a UFC level fighter. And then, he comes in here versus Gustafsson, the hoorah, the big moment of his career. He's got a chance to take out the best light heavyweight in Europe. And, he throws big bombs early, but Gus took him down, and he stayed on top, and Jan didn't get back up, and the fight was over. The more you make Jan wrestle, I'm talking like one wrestling exchange, Jan's huffing and puffing. And I know Clark's green, and the thing is, people are afraid that Clark's going to, go in there and trade in the pocket with him. If you watch the tape, Clark doesn't do that. Clark stays at range. Clark's throwing kicks out from the outside. And I mean, he explodes in, and when he does bang, it's very brief. It's in and out, and he's gonna outwork Jan here. He's gonna make him tired. The first round will be a little, not even the first round. The first 3 minutes will be a little sketchy, and after that, Devin Clark's gonna get a takedown, and Jan's not gonna get back up. And when he does, Clark's actually gonna get off on the feet and beat him up on the feet. And, Clark's gonna win this fight handily, 30-27 on 2 cards, 29-28, and he's going to get the biggest win of his career.
I'm going to go with Devin Clark as well. I mean, with Jan Blachowicz, he's a one-kick wonder. Yeah, he liver kicked Alir Latifi. Congratulations. Great win. But ever since then, I mean, he's looked like absolute dog shit, and that's just being real with it. You know what I mean? Anytime he fights a wrestler, Corey Anderson. Anytime he fights a chinny wrestler, Corey Anderson, Pat Cummins. And now it's about to be Devin Clark. I mean, we already know what's going to happen here. First 3 minutes are going to be kind of sketchy. But like you said, Devin Clark doesn't even trade in the pocket. He stays at range. And, Jan Blankovic, he's got terrible gas tank management, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll even try to initiate takedowns of his own, which is what we want. Okay, keep burning yourself out, Jan. And then on the mat, he won't try to just hold on and let the ref stand you up. He'll try to attempt arm bars and triangles and sweeps, and it's like, dude, you don't have that level jiu-jitsu. It's not gonna happen, especially against one of these wrestlers with serious top control. So look, man, he's going to get grinded out. He might even get finished. There's only so many of those 15-minute ass whoopings you can take. Eventually, you're going to get pounded out. I don't know if this is going to be that time. However, I do believe Devin Clark will walk away with the victory. I don't have a bet on it yet. I ain't crazy about the minus 150, even though, it should be probably minus 200, right? But it's just, I don't like playing those prices. But what I might do is put it in an open parlay. We'll make talks pretty soon. But yeah, my pick is Devin Clark. Co-main event of the evening. We got Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She's minus 470. The comeback on Jodie Esquibel is plus 375. Now, were you surprised by this matchup? Who the fuck is Jodie Esquibel?
They just needed, I'm assuming they just needed Carolina to get back on track and get a win in, her home country. And Esquibel, man, to be honest, she's actually a chick I was looking to fade in Invicta against Olivia Souza, the Brazilian in Invicta. And I thought Souza was going to end up finishing her, and I was going to bet it. And, now she's fighting Carolina. Initially I was thinking about if Carolina was less than minus 4 to, finish my Brad Tavares parlay with that. But, I'm out of those things after the Magomed Bubilatov, KO loss.
Oh, my God.
I'll never do anything like that again.
And Adriano Martinez.
Yeah, exactly. But good thing we passed on that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely out of that business. I think she'll win the fight handedly. I don't think Esquibel's on that level. I've seen her she lost to Yoder. It was a close fight. It probably should have went to a third round, but she did lose to Yoder. She got butchered by Grasso, like in a bloody fight. Grasso had her leaking everywhere. I think she's more likely fits at like atomweight. I think she used to fight at atomweight, if I'm not mistaken. I just think there's such a big length advantage and a distance knowledge advantage. Carolina can, drop her hands for this one and pick her off from the outside, maybe get a takedown here and there and get the clear win.
Yeah, look, Carolina's going to get this win. I think she's going to beat her up in the clinch. And, I know Carolina's a bit hittable. She likes to get into brawls, but she's going to be tougher than this chick, and she's going to fire off devastating knees to the body. Maybe she's going to let her hands go more this time than she has in the past. I mean, don't forget about that time that she stumbled the champion, the best female pound-for-pound fighter of all time.
Beat Rose.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she rocked her. And, we cashed that plus 215 against Rose in Atlanta in front of Rose's family. You know how it goes, man. This game's ruthless. So I got the minus 5 whatever. Oh, she's minus 470. A little action came in on Jodie Esquibel. That's kind of funny. But look, I ain't betting it because of the price, but the pick is Carolina, and her and Mahmoud are gonna have a nice little celebration after. Main event of the evening: Donald Cowboy Cerrone's minus 150. The comeback on Darren Till is plus 130. What are you thinking, bro?
Man, this is like we said earlier. Prospect versus veteran, and what makes me want to stay away from this fight is, I've been looking to fade Till for a while, and it didn't come through against Boyan, and Cerrone, he's a guy that I like to fade a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I know Cerrone can be punked out. Like for his last fight against Robbie Lawler, in my personal opinion, what I'm saying, if you guys go back and watch, I felt like Robbie straight punked him out. Like, I felt like that blitz Robbie hit him off with right off the bat wasn't shit, in my opinion. Like, if you actually watch it, a lot of the chants were glancing. And, like, Robbie did that because he knows that he can punk Cerrone out early because Cerrone, he's timid. He's kind of scared of Robbie. He wants to be a friend, He's one of those type of guys. And the reason why I want to stay away from this fight, the left kick to the body, which is Cerrone's kryptonite throughout his career, kicks to the body, and Till throws left kicks to the body, even though it's like one of the few strikes he does throw, and the straight left. And for example, when RDA had that fight with Magny, people were talking about betting Magny, and I was like, if RDA could beat any one of these guys at 170, I had a short list of guys that he can beat, and Magny was one of those on that list. And for Till, if he can beat any one of these guys in that upper echelon of 170, I think Cerrone should be on that list because he never lost two in a row before his last fight. And, the guy he can be punked out. I feel like Till can get in his head. I feel like if Till comes ready early, starts landing hard body kicks like right off the bat, which he should do. I mean, we know how to beat Cerrone's southpaws, left kicks to the bodies, and straight lefts. If Till comes out here and gets off to a good start, I feel like he's going to punk out Cerrone. And I feel like Cerrone will eventually, go down to a body kick or just a combo, a combination of the hands and the body kick. But I'm going to go with Till here. I wouldn't be shocked if Cerrone wins. That's how the trend goes lately. The vets beating the shit out of the prospects. But I'm still open to fading Till against the right guy. I just want it to be someone like Zaleski or...
Don't tell him.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I just think if he could get one at Cerrone, and I actually think he will.
It's such a good fight because this is going to let us know exactly where Darren Till is. A lot of us have a lot of questions. Now, I have a lot of hesitation betting on undefeated fighters, as you know, Shaq, because everyone has to take that first L. No one is exempt. Not even Khabib, as you know, tiramisu and the scales and this and that. But look, no one's exempt from that first L, man. And in this spot, it is interesting because you brought up some great points. Darren Till does a lot of things that give Cowboy Cerrone problems. He kicks to the body. He's a southpaw. He's got a beautiful straight left. But he also does some things that play in the Cowboys' favor. For example, he doesn't mind being friends with you inside the octagon. You remember with Bojan? Bojan's going in there giving him a hug and a high five. And Till doesn't mind. Same thing with Ayari. Same thing with Dalby. Till's fine being your friend in there. But I've also heard Till say that he hasn't gone past second gear in the UFC, even though we saw that Dalby fight where he kind of had to, and we know what happened there. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that one, right, Shaq? But according to him and his coaches, he's never been past second gear in the UFC. So when he was fighting Bojan, I said the way for Bojan to beat him is leg kicks and takedowns. First 2 minutes of that fight, go watch it. Bojan's doing the strategy perfectly. He's throwing the leg kicks. I'm like, yes, Bojan. And then out of nowhere, you got a $50K bonus the fight before, and he decides, I'm not going to be the boring point fighter that I'm known for. Now I'm going to put on a show. Now I'm going to put my hands up and start dancing, start taunting, start being someone I'm not. And right away, Darren Till trapped his wrist and threw a big elbow down the middle and dropped him. And rightfully so. Bojan got what he deserved. You're not an exciting fighter, Bojan. You are a boring point fighter. Do what you are known for. In this case, with Donald Cerrone, I think, once again, like I thought the leg kicks and takedowns were going to be big weapons last time, I think they're going to be big weapons this time. Obviously, we know about the leg kicks of Donald Cerrone. I don't got to talk about that. But let's talk about his double leg. He hits that double leg on everyone he fights. I'm talking about guys like RDA. I'm talking about guys like Robbie Lawler. The list goes on. He took down Rick Story, Patrick Cote. I mean, he takes down literally everybody that he fights. And I don't see why it's going to be any different here. So it's one of these cases where either Darren Till is really just that good and I don't know it, and if that's the case and he goes out there and sparks Cerrone, hey man, sky's the limit, you know what I'm saying? But I think, and you know what? I actually think he's got a higher ceiling than Cerrone. You know why? Because he wants to be champion, unlike Cerrone. Cerrone doesn't want to be champion. Cerrone just wants to show up, get that 100K, drink that Budweiser, go jet skiing, you know what I'm fucking saying? Climb mountains, you know what he wants to do, chew tobacco and all this fucking shit. But Darren Till actually wants to be the world champion. And I'm not saying that he won't be a world champion one day, but everyone has to take that first L. I think this will be his first L, Shaq. I think the leg kicks, the takedowns are going to be big weapons in this fight, and I think the deep waters will also be a big weapon in this fight. And I don't think that Cerrone completely got punked out against Robbie because, look, the first round, yeah, he was taking all the shots, but that second round, he's coming out there. He landed a takedown. He was throwing big head kicks off the clinch break. So, the guy, I know people try to act like he's kind of a pussy, but I don't think he is. I think he's tough as fuck. I just think he's got a liver issue, and if you kick him right in the body, just like you do to Matt Brown, some dudes got chin issues. Some dudes got, choke issues, kind of like Ali Akinta. You put your your arm around his neck, he's going out. It is what it is. And some people got body issues, and that sounds kind of funny in these times, right? Some people got liver issues, and I think that's Cerrone. And does he have a liver issue because he's simply weak to the body? Does he have a liver issue because he drinks so much, and we know drinking goes straight to your liver? Or is it because he got into that accident and they removed half of his fucking liver? Or was it his colon? I don't fucking remember. But bottom line is, he's had some shit done to him. I just think he's so much more experienced. I mean, we're talking about with Till, a guy who, and all credit to him, he's looked great in his wins, but, wins over Wendell Oliveira, Dalby, Ayari, Boyan, all respect, great Euro prospects, but now we're dealing with a perennial top 5 guy, and historically speaking, Cowboy does not lose to anyone that's not in the top 5, and you can't base fights off that because, Matt Serra beat GSP. You know what I'm saying? Crazy shit happens all the time, but I have to think Donald Cerrone is going to hand Darren Till the first L of his career. Darren Till will be back. And if Darren Till comes out here and knocks out Cerrone, hey, holy shit, sky is the limit. But look, I think Darren Till takes his first L here, and I think he gets back on track after. But Shaq, we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for UFC Gdansk?
The fight to watch, I'm gonna go with Andre Fili versus Artem Lobov. That should be a good fight, I think. Both guys like to stand and trade. Artem's always exciting. He's probably gonna be talking shit in there, and I think they're gonna have a solid knock, as we call it. I feel like if Philly knocks him out, he'll be the first guy to ever, not the first guy, but the first guy in a while to finish Artem with strikes. And, if Artem can pull this one off, that's a huge win.
Yeah, 100% about it. And I'm going to go with Oscar Piechota versus Jonathan Wilson. I feel like Oscar is one of these guys where if you watch some of his earlier fights, you might not be as impressed. But when you see that career evolution, when you see those last 2 knockouts he's had where he's absolutely floored these guys, and with Jonathan Wilson dropping down 20 pounds, is he going to be a lot better? He needs this win. His career's on the line. So for that reason, that is my fight to watch, Shaq. So, man, I got to ask you, who's the fighter to watch for UFC Gdansk?
The fighter to watch for me is going to be Devin Clark, man. I think he's going to go out here. I think he's going to pull off the biggest win of his career in another guy's home country. And I'm interested to see how he makes Jan break. And I can't wait for him to make Jan work. And, we'll see how that cardio holds up. But, 205 short with guys that are up and coming. It's arguably the weakest division in the UFC. And Devin Clark could add his name to that list.
Yeah, my fighter to watch is Ramazan Emeev. Anytime you get one of these Russian prospects who's coming in and he's fighting a UFC vet who's had over 10 fights in the UFC and over 30 fights in his career, that's a big step up in competition. He's never fought someone with the experience of Sam Alvey, and if he can go out there, get that win, he might even immediately put himself in the top 15 of the middleweight division. People are going to take notice if Emeev goes out there and beats a guy like Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey's got wins over Rashad Evans, Dan Kelly, Cesar Mutanch, Nate Marquardt. So if Ramazan Emeev can go out there, defeat the very experienced and seasoned Sam Alvey, it'll work wonders for his career and put him right on the cusp of the top 15. Well, Shaq, we did it, man. UFC Gdansk is going down this Saturday afternoon on UFC Fight Pass. Can't wait for it. Let them know what's up, where to follow you, and anything else you got coming up, bro?
Follow me, MMA Genius 05. All my plays are on Capper Tech, TSM Genius. And now it's time to go on a little streak here.
It really is, man. It's the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? About to tighten up. Look, the long-term results have been here all year, but now it's time to end with a bang. That's exactly what I plan to do. That's what I'm known for, and that's what I'm going to do. Follow me on Twitter at BestFightPicks. Go to bestfightpicks.com for the plays. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Shaq and I will be back next week with our very special guest, Albert the Warrior Morales, to break down UFC Sao Paulo, one of the best cards of the year. And we're going to just keep knocking out some very good interviews with guys that we're going to be betting on. That's what's so awesome about the guys that we interview. You see these guys that'll interview anyone and everyone, and you don't even want to fucking hear from these guys. We're going to interview the guys you guys want to hear from, the guys we're going to bet on. We want to know the inside details, what they're thinking, what they're planning, these game plans, how they feel about being underdogs. So until the next time, let's cash these bets. Let's cash these bets. Let's cash these bets.